Yeah, it's not a troll question, Brandon. I mean, it's the elephant in the room. Um, how do I address this? I just think it does seem forced. I agree with you 100%. Um, most of the time I can tell Bryan doesn't want to be here. And here's the thing. It's not that, like, me and Bryan are still close, still love Bryan. We still talk all the time. But it's just like our lives are so different now, you know, on my life and his life. It's almost like we don't have much in common anymore. We're like that old married couple, and the kids, you're empty nester, and the kids leave the house, and you go to dinner. It's like, hey, hey, remember that time? And you're just talking about old stories, So it's like, me and Bryan haven't had the conversation. I think we should go down to once a week. My passion and focus is Schaub show. Um, Chin and I have talked about this, and for me, I don't know how Chin feels about it. I don't know how the viewers feel about it. It's like when it comes to firing the kid, like, dude, we've had a fucking epic run. You're talking 12, 13 years, man. I mean, epic run. I mean, I am so grateful for Bryan. Me and Bryan will always be brothers. Um, when I first started, if you would be telling me I've been doing this as long as I've been doing it, I'm like, what the hell? So, I don't view it as a negative thing. It's just like sometimes things change. Things change. And I think, Bryan's getting older. He's not as silly or into the things he used to be. I'm also older. Um, and I also feel like I don't have much to say these days. Like my the thing I know most is sports, right? My expertise comes in MMA and football and stuff like that. Not saying I'm an expert. I'm saying what I know, whatever little knowledge that is in MMA and football. That's kind of my thing. Outside that, I'm coaching my kids' teams, and that's my life, man. That's my life. And I'm not at the comedy store with run the streets and air to the ground and doing this and doing that. I grew up. And before your guys' eyes. You guys have been with me this whole time. And hopefully some of you have kids, and we're doing this together. And my number one priority is my family and just being happy and not missing practices, not missing games. I just don't think me and Bryan have the same priorities. Bryan's touring and trying to make ends meet and stuff like that. So I just feel like we've grown apart in that regard, so it makes the show tough. And, I think if you came to Bryan, like, yo, we'll give you this amount of money, and he's not, stressed about stuff, he would probably stop doing Fire the Kid, I assume, or he would just, I don't know. It's a conversation we got to have. I think once a week is smart right now, and then if that doesn't kind of bring Callen back, then you shut it down. And I think that's okay. We've been doing it so long. It is what it is, man. I don't think it's not a sad story. We're pioneers in the space, especially as a duo. I was the first professional athlete ever to have a podcast, and we're really the first duo in podcasting. So we've inspired a lot of people. We've put a lot of people on. It's all good, man. It's all good. We've done it for so long. So, Chin's always been an optimist, and I know fans are like, oh, do this to bring it back. And I just don't think you can. So, I don't know, brother. Hopefully that answers your questions. Inside baseball, inside baseball is I allude to a little bit on the Schaub show that dropped today where, Gina Carano got canceled, but she's a fighter. And she moved on, and she's bigger than ever, and she gets over it. And Bryan holds it in. So Bryan, to this day, will walk into a room and think everybody's thinking about his cancellation. And he's never figured out how to get over it. And it affects everything in his life. And it's very frustrating. I understand, and it sucks. But at some point, you got to go fuck it and move on and go back to being silly. But then also go back to being silly. 59, 58 years old? What are you talking about, B? What are you talking about? So...
You can still be 59 and be silly.
I think that's the problem, Chan. I don't think you can.
No, I mean, like...
Name a 59-year-old who's silly like they were when they were 30.
No, I'm saying, even stand-up comics, they get really old in age, they're still really funny.
Not on podcasts. Name one. I'll wait.
On a podcast?
Yep. Name a comic who hosts a podcast who got funnier and sillier as they got older.
Well, I don't listen to Mark Maron, but is Mark Maron silly at all on a podcast?
That's why Mark Maron's the worst. No, he got grumpy.
I'm looking at older people.
Dude, he got grumpy and salty and not funny at all. He's the prime example, Bubba.
Well, Rogan, he's part of the...
You think Rogan's gotten sillier?
No, not sillier, but he's still silly. He's still funny. I don't know. Let me do some research. I'll get back to you.
You don't want to have this conversation, Bubba. You ain't going to win this one.
I'm not trying to win anything. I'm just saying, like, I don't really do the research on, how old is Louis C.K.? Does he even do podcasts?
No. Yeah, this is you digging yourself.
So your point is straight up podcasting.
It's straight up podcasting.
Okay, my thing was more like, if you're older in age, it doesn't matter if you're like 80, 60, 50, whatever. You're still funny. If you're funny, you're funny.
But that doesn't translate to podcasting.
Yeah, podcasting is different. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
We're talking about podcasting.
If it's just straight up podcasting,
fuck about stand-up. I'm sure Bryan's stand-up's great. We're talking about podcasting.
Yeah, well, that's a different thing.
But that's the conversation. His conversation is not in stand-up. His conversation's in podcasting. Why is it affecting the show? And it's like,
no, because you're saying, like,
as you get older, you can't still be the dick joke guy and always fucking around. It's never happened.
The dick joke guy is different, but you're saying, can you still be silly? That you're saying that's basically, you're saying, like, he's 59. Why would he be silly? Like, how would that be? You could still be silly.
Again, name somebody who's gotten sillier and funnier and...
I mean, the stand-up comics. I mean, you want me to just Google, like, who's old stand-up comics?
Chin, you're talking about stand-up, buddy.
No, that's what I'm saying.
We're talking about Fighter and the Kid. We're talking about podcasting.
Well, yeah,
a comic
that's different.
Of course it's different.
But no,
that's what the fuck we're talking about.
I thought you said straight up he's 59. How could he be silly at 59?
On a podcast, buddy.
All right, we got that
fucking show.
Okay, if it's on a podcast, then fine.
Name one.
No, that's fine. If it's on a podcast.
Like Maron's a perfect example. He never was the most silly guy, though. And he got more grumpy over time.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of...
Rogan, as things got more serious, clearly Rogan's a serious dude. He got more serious, Like, even the fight campaigns, we're not as silly. Again, we're just older. All of us are older. Like me, Joey Diaz, Eddie Bravo.
Joey Diaz, there you go. There's one.
From 10 years ago?
No, he still does podcasts.
Watch it 10 years ago. It's just different. It just is. And I think the other thing is, remember, Fighting Kid, for a while, it was like heavy guest driven. And then...
I think that's a big thing, too.
But that's just a change in the podcast dynamic for everyone. I mean, Rogan's show has always been guest driven. He's never just done solo episodes. So with Fighter and the Kid, when it was guest driven, it was a different time. We all lived close. We're all in the same building.
How old is Bill Burr?
And you think Bill Burr's gotten sillier?
He's funny.
You're confusing things, buddy.
On a podcast, he's funny.
And he's by himself, Jen.
Yeah.
He doesn't have guests. Go to Bill Burr 10 years ago.
All right, dude.
But what I was saying is, with Fighting the Kid, we were guest driven. We all lived close. And also everyone and their mom didn't have their own platform, their own podcast. So we were like the mothership. where everyone would come to get put on, and then
Oh yes, I was there.
they
Brent.
get
I was
fame,
there.
and then they
Yes.
then they start their own podcast. So you don't need to you want your own views. You don't want to do other podcasts.
Okay. Oof. It's over. Before anyone cries about the clickbait, guys, come on. He wants to end it. He's already said he's bringing it down to once a week. Callen's not going to do that. Especially the conversation he's talking about, by the way, in which I don't think he's had with Callen, because Callen stays oblivious to all of this. Even like my videos and stuff, Callen doesn't watch that. Callen stays oblivious, and Callen gets told stuff by his openers. Callen hasn't had the conversation with Schaub yet. Callen doesn't know. Schaub is taking the Schaub show to its own Patreon. This is the last Q&A on the Fighter and the Kid Patreon. Schaub has already said this. He's taking everything to his own Patreon. He's done with Callen. He's probably going to offer him a lot less money. If they're cutting the show down to once a week, which he wants to, you think he's still going to pay Callen the full $25,000 a month? He even said in that, Callen gets money from somewhere else. He's not going to want to keep doing this. Schaub doesn't want to do it. It's officially over. He's moving on. Chin can argue all he wants to argue. Now, at this point, what's Callen going to do? I think Schaub has smartly calculated. Oh my God, did I say Schaub and smartly? Has calculated correctly that the podcast is dead. I'm not blaming Callen, but it is what it is. The only thing fueling it is the hate watching, and they're all just there for Schaub. I think Schaub has figured, what's Callen really bringing to the table at this point? Nothing. And he's miserable doing the podcast with him. And Schaub knows where this is going. I peep everything. That's why I've told you this day is coming for so long. And you people say it's clickbait, but it's not. I just see what's going to happen, and I call everything. Remember when I said Dave Landau was going to leave Compound Media 6 months before he did to join Steven Crowder? Remember, everything I've ever said comes true, mostly. But in regards to this, Schaub has been watching old school Opie and Anthony. You might not pick up on it, but trust me, I gotta listen to this freaking guy. I've picked up on it. He's referenced it enough. He's going through the old Opie and Anthony shows, and I'm just waiting for him to start trying to do old O&A bits. But he's referenced Jim Norton and Cumia. He's listening to that breakup, and he's approaching it sort of the same way, and I think doing it a little bit better. But this podcast is done. Callen needs to decide something, because on his own, his podcast is trash. That Off Limits one, he's gonna have to go into trashing Schaub mode if he wants any relevancy. Or maybe Callen is just maybe it will be the case that he doesn't need to trash Schaub, and just getting rid of the dead Boppa weight will just automatically elevate his career. I don't know what's going to happen in regards to Callen. But Schaub going forward, he's so moving back to LA the only thing that might stop that is his financial situation. Although something tells me he just got a little boost in it by getting rid of Callen. That's $25,000 a month, people. You don't think Schaub would rather just put that in his pocket than give it to Callen, a guy who doesn't even want to be there? And let's keep it honest, and Schaub is figuring, and I think he's right, Callen's not bringing viewers. Schaub is like, you know what brings viewers? The drama. This is the Q&A. Trust me, he addressed that right off the rip, and how he kind of acknowledges now that he needs these hate channels, quote unquote, because he realizes that's what's keeping him relevant at this point. So he figured, look, I'll do these fan questions. I'll let people ask me stuff. I'll answer them. I've said this since the beginning. of this Fighter and the Kid Patreon. I had to tip my hat to Bappa. He really did put a lot out there that I never thought he would. It's so odd to me that he can't lean into the Fighter and the Kid subreddit hate and all that stuff. But with these fan questions, he sits down for an hour and a half. Like this dude, an hour and a half. And he legitimately answers them as much as he can. Sure, there's ones he'll skip, mainly mine asking about a lawsuit, but I get that. But in general, on average, I have said right off the rip, I was shocked. Schaub answers that many questions. Plus, I noticed they had to drag Callen in there, kicking and screaming. They only could do it twice to answer fan questions. And the first time was less than a half hour. And the second time was they got right to an hour and Callen's like, I got to get out of here. How many has Schaub done? Like he does one every week. And I think he's smartly calculated, look, just bring it all to my own thing. He brought on fake Landau. That's the new co-host, people. And I think he's just figuring, look, it's going to be the Schaub, fake Landau, and Chin show. And then the main podcast, him, D'Elia, on the Golden Hour, and he's probably figuring, hey, Chin. And Chin is upset and Chin is fighting this, but if Schaub comes to Chin like next week and goes, hey, buddy, we're going back to Cali, that'll soothe Chin over. Chin will accept that. All right, Callen's gone, but Callen's in Texas and he's got a residency at Rogan's thing. We're back to Cali. I get to be with my boys. We'll hang out. Schaub will be in studio with the Golden Hour. Guys, he's selling his house. Right off rip, too. And I bet a bunch of it is financial problems. But I bet a bunch of it is, I told you, the second he got down here, Schaub realized, oh, this isn't going to be what I thought it was going to be. So he's already plotting his exit back. He's got his TV show, Gearheads Gone Wild. Like I said, that might get picked up again just based on hate watching. I mean, you may not like it, but this dude might be bringing numbers we're not seeing just so people can watch him and shit on him. I don't know. But all I know is this is done. This is over. And let me know your thoughts in the comments.